Yeah, that's not me being rude, that's just a dahlia tuber. So I'm making this video because I'm potting up all my dahlias. I don't even know how many I have. I have between 25 and 35. I think we'll find out now. I don't know because I ordered these in midwinter when there was nothing else to do, and you end up going trigger happy because the selection is so vast. And I made the mistake of ordering from 2 companies, which means that you kind of lose track how many you've bought because they take a while to arrive, right? So these arrived quite a long time ago, and you should put them up as soon as you get them, really. That's best. But I don't have space in my house to keep them safe. They are super frost sensitive, so if you have a frosty greenhouse, it's not good enough for your dahlias in winter or early spring. Now we're in May, you know, we still can get a frost, but it's usually not that heavy or hard, sorry. So they would probably be fine, especially if you double fleece them. But if you're going to start them early on, you definitely need to make sure you have space inside your house, a light, warm space for them to start growing. I don't have that, so I'm doing it now in May. You can plant them direct as well, but it would have to be after your last frost date, and my average last frost date is mid-May, and I'd rather start them in pots now, get a little bit of a head start, and maybe plant them out by the end of May, just to make sure the risk of frost has gone, right? So average last frost date means exactly that, average, which means that half the time it's earlier than that date and half the time it's later than that date. So bear that in mind. It doesn't mean last ever frost date, right? Some people get caught out by that. Right, so sometimes if you leave them in the bags, these arrived in bags, if you leave them in the parcel they came in, they will start growing. So even though this one has got a lot of damage to, or I mean damage, they've cut some of the tubers off. There's enough in this one storage tuber where the eyes are, which is where it grows from, to produce this shoot. Alright, so they are a bit like a tulip bulb, right? They contain all the energy that the plant needs to get started. To perform to its full potential, obviously, you need to provide the soil, the water, the feed, and whatever else, and the sunshine specifically, to get properly going. But there is life in it to start off, and this is the result. So I'm gonna have to be super gentle planting this up. It's white like this because it's been excluded from light, a little bit like a potato. If you start chitting your potatoes in the dark, this is what happens. They produce a long white shoot, which is less than ideal. And don't do what I've done. Try to get them sorted before they get to this stage. So one thing to note about dahlias is because they've got so popular in the recent years and people are so hungry for these new varieties that don't look like the old classic style from seed dahlias, there is such pressure on the producers that they might be starting to take shortcuts, and it has led to quite a lot of disease being introduced. I am quite unfamiliar with the diseases because I've not grown many dahlias. I've only grown dahlias from seed, really, and it's just something to look out for. If your dahlias, when you dig them up or when they arrive, they don't look right, maybe do some research. These are looking as I expect, and we'll see how they perform. But yeah, basically unscrupulous dahlia growers have popped up into the marketplace. So maybe buy from a reputable source, and if it's too cheap to be true, maybe, you know, it's a little bit like when you buy spring bulbs. A lot of us had some issues buying spring bulbs from, was it Thompson and Morgan, that the colors when they show up were not the right ones for tulips or daffodils or whatever. And it's sort of the same with dahlias. You buy them and it takes such a long time to grow them until you find out, oh no, they're not that variety that you bought. So it's worth contacting the company then and ask for a refund, because that's just not on. Obviously, if you do not want to know what varieties I'm growing, but just how I'm potting them up, feel free to skip forward. But if you want to feel jealous of all the varieties I have, then yeah, feel free to watch. Right, sorry, I was going to do a haul while I'm growing. So this one, the first one, is Totally Tangerine. And for each of these I'll source an image off the internet and introduce here, because obviously they don't come with images, which is a bit of a shame. So each plant that you buy these days in the UK comes with a UK plant passport. And I think this means here, it says it comes with a number and also the letters NL, which I assume means the Netherlands. So I think these are imported from the Netherlands or Holland, where a lot of our cut flowers and flowers come from. So next up we have Alfred Grill, and this one again has started growing, and it's quite a different style of tuber, and I've got a selection of pots to fit all these different sized tubers. So the next one is Glory van Hamsteed, and I'm a little bit worried about it because all of these storage tubers are broken. There's no growth on it, though. Oh no, I lied, there is some growth. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Can we focus? Anyway, there's a little eye, that's what they're called, where the shoots appear from. So if you see them, be careful with them, because that's where the plant starts to grow. So it just shows that even though it's completely mishandled and gone really quite wrinkly, there's still life in it. So don't give up on your dahlia tubers, even though they look dead. I ordered one called Orange Turmoil, but they'd run out, so I got the Vulcan instead. I'm not 100% happy about it. It's a bit more garish than I would prefer, but I'll give it a go. Oh, and just because I got two, great, really. I really want two of these garish tubers. But yeah, they have beautiful shoots on them and they look in great nick. So next we have Kelsey Ann Joy, and it's again quite a different one. It's got some shoots going, one underneath and one here. It's not ideal. Again, don't leave it this late. And some of the storage tubers have fallen off. So if they don't have eyes, they won't grow a dahlia. But if you're unsure, you can plant them up and see if something comes of it. You might get lucky and get more plants. You can also look at splitting the tubers when you get them. If you can find two eyes and divide it through that. However, these are so small, I'm not going to do it. I'll rather wait until next year if I want more of one of them. And yeah, I just want to get them going now. So I'm going to get rid of these because I don't think they're going to grow. And next we have Bohemian Spartacus. And this one is in reasonable nick and it's got some shoots coming, so that's good. Next one is Orange Fubuki, and this one you get two for the price you pay. And yep, they're both shooting. I hope you can see these really rude looking things coming out. Yes, they're both shooting, and yeah, we'll get two of those. Next one is Bishop of Dover, and yep, coming up. So next one is Penhill Watermelon, which is one of those that was really popular on Instagram last year and the year before. And yeah, this is an atrocious looking one. Not great quality, but it's got a shoot, so hopefully it'll be good enough this year and produce. And yeah, I'm excited. And next is the classic Cafe au Lait, which is everyone's favorite, and it's got a shoot coming a little bit sideways, so yeah. Next one is Wizard of Oz, and yep, we've got a shoot coming. So there's a few of them I'm super excited about. You might be noticing a trend among the colours. I was subjected to the vast selection of tubers there are, right, or dahlias there are, and I can't just choose, oh, I like that one, I'll buy that one. So I get overwhelmed, and I prefer to just buy all my clothes from H&M, for example, because then at least I only have to go to one shop. I don't shop around and find my favorites. I have to like limit my selection. Not that H&M has a small selection, but you know what I mean, right? So I kind of had to put some limitations on myself. So I decided I'll go for a color scheme. So I went for corals, gone from pinky corals to orangey corals, and maybe some extremes like reds at the end, or some white creams as well. So I think they will all fit together quite well. though I guess that's left to be seen. And there's some tall ones, some short ones, some open ones, some what are they called, the disco ball ones, you know, the cactus ones, like different shapes, different colored leaves and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully they will all sit really well together. So this is Bishop of York. Oh, and there are some here that are not fitting into that color scheme because they are to go in the garden where we have a different color scheme. So yeah, got a nice little shoot on this one. Oh, and this one has a picture. I see orange. This is Summer Flame. I'm not anti-orange flowers at all. I actually quite like that look. I didn't used to be like that. I detested orange flowers, but now I quite like them. And they add something extra, you know, they're very, very vivid, especially if you mix them with blues or have the right kind of foliage around them. I think it works really well. And I think it works great on my allotment. So this one's got a very nice little shoot here. It's good. So this, that they're shooting in their bags, is sort of an indication that now's the time. They're now growing. Now is the growing period for the dahlias, so it's a good time to get them sorted out. This is New Baby, so I guess it's supposed to be maybe a present for when you have a new baby. And yeah, got a little shoot there. Very cute little tuber. Can you see that? Oh, it's actually got two shoots. There's one shoot there. And there's one. I'll find out on the editing whether you can see that or not. And then we have HS Wink. Good name. Yeah, very, very dry, but enough there, I guess, because there are some shoots coming. And yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to be excited because I just can't imagine what they look like because I don't remember. I think when I'm looking back at this video, I'll be like, ooh, yes, that one's exciting. So this one's called American Dawn, and I seem to remember that this one being quite something special. See, can we find some shoots on this one? It's looking a little bit non-existent. Yeah, well, it's not looking that great. Ah! No, it's here. I found it. It's here! Okay, good, good, because that one I remember and I am excited about. How many is that now? Maybe I'll add a little counter on the video. Akita? Is that a dahlia? Anyway, we'll find out. It's got a shoot. Bellflower. Ooh. The weather's not great. I think it's gonna chuck it down in a second. It's getting a little bit chilly in here in the greenhouse. So this was Bellflower and a very obvious shoot. Creme de Cassis. So this one I've bought with my mother in mind, and she has a dog called Cassis, a black Labrador like my Raska, and her name is Cassis. So I've always thought my mum likes or loves dahlias, and I thought I'd manage to get this to her somehow. So I'll grow it this year in the garden, and I think it'll fit in my garden too, and if I can split it then I can share it with her. Oops. That's a long crack of thunder. Do I want to be in the greenhouse for this? We'll find out. This is Park Record. Ooh, yeah. Well, there we go. There's a shoot. Just trying to get them all to face downwards. Oh, and we're still going. We have Milena Fleur. Goodness, that's a big old shoot. What's up and down? Hard to know. I'll just let the plant be the decider. Just a few more. Right. Zundert Mystery Fox. No shoots on this one. But we'll plant it up. So that's the first one, I think, without any sign of growth, which is pretty good for this amount, I guess. Yellow Jill. Well, I guess that one fits in quite well. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice one. I like this shape, easy to plant up. And we've got a shoot, a little pink shoot. Glory van Noordwijk. It's funny, it's a typical Dutch name, right? But it's, according to this, it's from GB. Oh yeah, here we go. There's your shoot. Great Hercules. So, if I remember correctly, this is a massive dinner plate one. And it's got a few shoots there. You'd think it'd have a bigger tuber with that name, but I've run out of space. So, what I'm gonna plant them in is my usual potting mix. Right, so that's just general compost mixed with perlite and vermiculite. Depending on, I've got a video on this, I'll link this up here, but in general, my ratios depends on the texture of my general compost. If it's really, really fine, then I add in more. If it's already quite varied in size, like if it's your homemade compost, for example, it's got lots of different sizes, then you don't need to add the substrates, because that is sort of what the substrate gives you, more texture. Or that's why I added. Obviously, you also get other qualities with these two substrates, but mainly at this point it's just to break it up and make it less compact. So then I'm going to use different sized pots to different sized tubers. I'm going to try and get away with using as small a pot as possible, so I use less compost. And they are not going to form lots of roots or anything like that at this stage, so that it becomes a problem. The only thing with a smaller vessel obviously is that it dries out quicker. So with dahlias you definitely don't want to overwater. But obviously they need to have some moisture there to be able to re-inflate those storage tubers that might have got a bit wrinkly in storage and dried out a little bit. So they want the water to make them all plump again. But you definitely don't want to overwater, because then they tend to sit in water and then they tend to rot, right? And you definitely don't want that with your dahlia tubers, your expensive dahlia tubers. So obviously, being in a greenhouse, on a normal day when it's a little bit sunny, it can get super hot super quickly and things tend to dry out much faster. So this is also the reason why I add vermiculite, for example, to my compost, because it holds water to a different degree than just compost does. But I would advise you that make sure that the compost is dry by sticking your finger into it before you water. And then when you plant them out, obviously they want to be in free draining soil. So heavy clay, you're gonna struggle with just clay. So if you have clay like I do, make sure you mulch it, okay? So you can even, if it's really, really heavy, you can even put some grit in the bottom of the planting hole to make sure that the bottom of the tubers don't sit in water. And then you make sure you mulch on top and around it with good compost or well-rotted manure or homemade compost, something like that, to quite a thick layer. It's starting to rain now. We'll see what kind of weather we're gonna get. It's a good time to sit in the greenhouse. But if you live in the UK, I really recommend going to B&Q lately, because they have these, this is not sponsored or anything, but they have these slate plant labels. And with the packet of 5 you get one of them white pens to write on. So these are the ones I'm going to use for my dahlias, because you really want to know which variety is where, if you ever want to move them, or if you want to show someone, if someone asks you, oh, what's that variety, you might not remember off the top of your head when you have this many, like I do. So it's very good to label them out. And obviously in winter it's doubly important if you're digging them up to know which one's which. So you want to know which one you planted where, and other kind of labels might not last. So I think these will look good as well as be practical. And I'm gonna use them now to, oh, it's really coming in here, to put into the pot as well from day 1. So it'll be very obvious which one's which. When I have the information, I might even write on it the height and width of it, so I remember when I plant it out. And I think that's a good tip, I can write on the back. So it'll be like one of them RHS gardens, right? You walk around and you like, woo, look so fancy. I think it'll be really cool. I'm tempted to get enough to like use for all my vegetables too and make it look like really professional around here. But yes, I can't wait until Corona is over, to the point where I feel more comfortable traveling, because I still don't really, and I don't tend to do anything apart from go to work. And yeah, it'd be nice to go visit some gardens, you know, because I live in Oxfordshire and it's absolutely full around here. You're in the center of England and there's so many amazing gardens to go visit within like an hour around here. So I really should pull my finger out and get it sorted. Wouldn't it be nice to organize some trips together? You know, you can all like meet up at a garden and, you know, hang out. Wouldn't that be great? And just go around and look at vegetables or plants. Because a lot of us don't have anyone else as plant addicted to speak to. Or is that just me? Anyway, let's get planting. Oh, hello. Well, while I got your attention, if you're finding this video useful or entertaining, would you consider giving it a thumbs up? Because it's really helpful to me to know what I'm doing right and what I'm not doing right. Or, you know, a thumbs down if you don't like it, of course. Right, let's get back to it. So unfortunately it looks like I've lost the footage where I speak to camera about planting up, which is a little bit sad, but you know, that's what happens. So first of all, I just have to find a type of pot that fits that tuber, and it can be quite snug at this point because they're basically just starting off, but I think that might be a little bit too snug. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I'll go for a bigger one. So you just want to then put some compost in the bottom of the pot, and then you place the tuber with the old stalk facing up, and you shake it about a bit so that the tips of the storage tubers sink down into the bottom compost a bit, and then top around it with more compost. And you keep shaking it, the tuber, up and down a little bit so that all the compost gets in around the tuber at the bottom. And you want to end up with the eyes sitting above the soil level, and that is because you don't want to risk them rotting, right? And if you can keep an eye on them actually growing, then you can be fairly confident that they're not rotting. So these pens from B&Q, I've saw quite a lot of bad reviews on their website, but basically you just have to shake them and then press the nib into the pen for quite a while for the ink to flow down, and then they work fine. But a lot of people were saying that they don't work. That's just not true. They just don't know how to use the pen. So you can see here I put them in a water tray to fill up from the bottom, and then I also top up with water from the top just to make sure that it runs through and that the whole pot is moist before I put them on the shelf. And I'm not going to water these for quite a long time, most likely, because I've added the vermiculite and perlite, they'll hold water pretty well. I will check on them, of course, but you just really want the water there to reinvigorate the tubers. So I've obviously gone for quite a few small pots here, and this should be okay. I mean, dahlias are large plants and they form quite a large root ball, but as I'm doing this in May, it won't be long before I can plant them out, so I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here, but they should be fine. Obviously, if you're doing this in end of March or whenever your tubers arrive and you're growing them inside your house, by this point they'll probably be quite large, so you want to plan accordingly and plant them in larger pots. If you want to know the plans for my dahlias, I suggest you go watch some of my vlogs. I think it's up here, or is it up here? because I go through more of, you know, the overall plans for my plot, and this year includes a large addition of flowers, which the dahlias are part of course. So, and that's it. I will see you for the next video.